So, oh, that sounds official. So we're recording it anyways from right now. Okay, welcome to the program again, Bruce Holmes. So we can.
That's me. And since it's being recorded, you may end up seeing what I'm seeing, which it looks pretty good, actually.
Yeah, well, I'll have to upload this later, I think, because the live ones only has me with the blank green screen, and you can see the stress in my.
I can see, it's interesting. My vantage point, I see the regular one, the Truth Quest. I
Right.
see your regular situation. So who knows? Maybe you'll be getting this one when you play it back.
You think?
I don't know.
I'm not sure about that.
Maybe I should record it. Hey, maybe I should record it. I can record this.
Oh yeah.
I'll click record.
All right.
Please ask the host to give you permission to record.
You got permission.
Well, I think you have to click a button or something.
Oh, I have to click a button?
I think you do.
Oh boy. Nothing's working today. Well, this is what happens, folks. This is live TV, live entertainment. Let's see, Peggy Dancer and Gloria Paddock and Catherine Weiss. Welcome to the program. Please share this out. I'm not even able to share this out. It's a weird, weird day. So there you go. But we got our friend Bruce Holmes here. So thank you for joining us again, Bruce, and thanks for putting up with all these technical difficulties.
I love it. Just reminds me, it reminds me of how my entire life has been running for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And for you, it's only been like an hour, but for me, it's been at least 2 years. How do you like that?
Oh, that was you. Okay.
That's me. I'm going to have to turn my phone off.
All right.
Because it wouldn't.
So let's get an update. You have been uploading the classic episodes of Timeless Voyager Radio, Timeless Voyager series now, and you got 110 of them up. Is that right? 110.
That is exactly correct.
Wow.
You're absolutely right.
And that's a lot of work, and it must be nice to have them available now for people.
I can't turn my phone off.
It's okay. Par for the course.
Wow, what a day. This is great.
We're under attack. We are under attack, I believe.
We are.
Yeah.
So let me say this. Thanks for keeping me on track here. Yes. As of yesterday, there are, let's see, there are 110 shows. I'm looking up at them right now. So there's 110 shows up there. And the ones that are really doing well these days, matter of fact, you know about the Linda Thompson Justice Federation, Waco, the Big Lie. Let me just say one thing to everybody. As you know, or if you don't know, I'll tell you. The issue that I've come up against recently has been people that have been contacting me about the shows have been saying, why are all the shows from 1990 to 1995? Where are the new ones? So this is the answer. This was an archival thing that I did. I don't even know if archival is a real word, but it's the word of the evening right now. I wanted to archive the about 200 shows that I believe that I did during that period of time, because they were all in scattered around the place. Some were on cassettes, some were on DAT format. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to get everything in one place. And when I was contacted by this company, Captivate, which makes or distributes podcasts, I thought to myself, hey, I have an idea. What I'll do is I'll take and make each one of these shows a podcast. That way I can accomplish my goal.
Mhm.
And then by paying Captivate, I think $20 a month, they would literally distribute these things all over the world.
Yeah.
And it would be in order. Nothing is ordered. Nothing is in order around here. So this is like a new area for me to have things actually in an orderly process. So I started going through my inventory, and I thought to myself, well, I need to do this in order. And I said, I can't do it in order. I don't know how to do that. So I thought, who cares if it's in order? I'm the only guy who knows when they were done, and they're done by basically. I have this category. I use the word circa, meaning somewhere around, and then I put the time: 1990, 1992, 94, 96, 97, whatever it is.
Mhm.
And that's all I say. And then I talk about a little bit about a show. Then I realized that I had forgotten one thing, and that's that roughly a third of the shows were done in a PBS format, which means there was no advertising. They were easy.
Mhm.
Another third were done on, as you know, shortwave and some other means.
Mhm.
And they did have advertising on them, and phone numbers, 800 numbers, all that stuff. And the last group, which began to become the biggest group after a while, was about a third, was strictly standard radio. That was while I was on Independent Broadcasters Network, which was out of Clearwater, Florida, up to 3 satellites. And it was interesting. It was on C1, C2, and G6. And that was all over, all over the United States. And then I had about, well, there's been an issue as to what number was, but I thought I had somewhere around 250 affiliates. So that was when the fun really began, because now I couldn't just send these up like I had thought I could, but I had to edit them. So then I went into this thing where I started editing them, and that is when it began to become work. So I was trying to avoid work, and I made a job for myself.
Mhm.
So it doesn't, there's no particular average, but I would say it takes me about 1 to 5 hours to edit.
Yeah, I bet.
And so where am I going with that? There are 110 of them up there. Now you can do the math.
It's a lot of work.
So here's the best part. I get a chance to do things I never did before, which of course didn't exist, because when this show originated, the internet was in its infancy. It was nothing like it is now.
Right.
So, I mean, literally, I have this thing called analytics. I can look at the analytics and I can see, like, for example, let's say today, trending episodes. Harinanda Giri explains Kriya Yoga in great detail. That's one of the big ones today.
Okay.
Jordan Maxwell, secret societies, religion, politics, banking, government. There's no separation between church and state, symbols and emblems.
Mhm.
That's also trending. Clark Dunn, anthroposophy. I couldn't even say the word when I did the show. I had to say it like 4 or 5 times. It turns out anthroposophy, there we go. Anthroposophy was a type of philosophical term that was created by Rudolf Steiner. Anyone who knows who Rudolf Steiner is? And he talks about the Akashic records, the 3 aspects of the mind, oneness of being, the many incarnations of the earth. We're going to talk about that tonight. Mystery schools in ancient Greece, that's also trending. And finally, the last one that's trending today is OBE, which is the Out of Body Experience pioneer Robert A. Monroe of the Monroe Institute,
Okay.
and that's trending. So those four are trending today. 314 hits along the four of them so
Wow.
far.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So that's what's going on in the world of Timeless Voyager series, they call it.
Mhm.
And so the podcasts, it's really cool. And like I said, the thing that really makes me happy about it is that I didn't want to do it this way, but this was the right way to do it, and I was forced. I was forced by the powers that be, who said, Bruce, if you want to have your shows up there, you have to do this. If you're not going to do it, then don't do it. But don't do it sloppily. So I'm not being sloppy about it.
No,
And
all your
so
stuff is very, very well done. Um, I got to say, I can't imagine, uh, redoing something I did back in the 90s. And I wouldn't even know where to look. I mean, most of the stuff I did in the 90s is, I don't know
well,
where
at
to
least
go.
I kept the stuff in different boxes all over the place. So, and I think I told you this once before, I knew in general where these were. I didn't want to open them up. But I began opening them up, as you well know.
Mhm.
And so, the thing is, yeah, it was not easy to do this. And I'm very happy that I did it because it's like a diary.
Yes, it
I
is.
get, I get to experience all of the different people I was interviewing back then. Now, what's really interesting about it, because I think I started by saying I was getting questions. Why are you doing this? Why are you putting up these shows? They're old shows.
Mhm.
Well, just because they were done in 1990 doesn't mean that the information isn't worthwhile.
Right.
Information is, are you ready? Timeless. It
Yeah, you
really is
go.
timeless. It really is timeless. And I feel very, very good about it. I'm excited about the fact that these shows are as relevant today as they were then. So let me just tell you a couple that I came across because I was getting prepared for the show and I wanted to see what would help, what would work. The most recent one, which was trending on Saturday and Sunday, not trending today. The dangerous effects of man-made electromagnetic uh,
Fields.
yes, fields, radiation fields. Why can't I see the whole? Let's see. I'm trying to find. You can see I'm looking up at my computer.
Mhm. Hello, Artist 61. Welcome to the program, and welcome, Mud Rabbit.
Hey, Mud Rabbit, and hey, everybody! I'm so happy you guys are great. Oh, here's one. The letting go of limiting beliefs that stand in the way of success.
Hey.
Um, and another one I found, another Al Bielek one. This is a good one. It's number 206. This is one where he started rattling off. Remember, I think on the last time we talked, I said you had to be careful with Al because if he got going, you just couldn't stop him.
Mhm.
So after about 5 or maybe even 10 minutes, I stopped him midstream. And I said, Al, everybody knows this story. I want to talk about things that I've heard you talk about. That's really what it was. Things I've heard you talk about. Explain this, explain that. And so we backed up and he started explaining things, filling in the gray areas that he usually just left alone. Because when Al talked, and I said this once before, he was in a situation where whoever was, let's say, interviewing him, guaranteed had no clue what the stuff was about.
Right.
That's one. Number two, absolutely did not believe it. And number three, couldn't even ask questions because they had no clue as to what they were supposed to, how to have a conversation with a person talking about things like the fabric, the time space fabric.
Mhm.
So So that's what I did in this one. So that's number 206, Philadelphia Experiment Survivor, Al Bielek,
That's a
revealed
listen.
new information.
Yeah.
So anyway, and I also found another one on the Urantia book, which was really good. Did we ever talk about the Urantia book?
No, I got you. I have your Urantia book here.
Okay, we talked. Okay, so you know personally about it.
Well, I know I haven't read the whole thing. My goodness.
Oh no! Thank goodness you said you didn't read the whole thing. Anyone who says to me I read it loses my attention completely, because that's what is it? 2,197 pages, I believe.
It's ridiculous.
It's and it's like thin paper,
I know.
right? And to make it worse, it's small type. It's like
Yeah.
11 or 12-point type in a book that's what I think it's like 10 by or 9 by 12 or something like that.
Wow.
But anyway, there was another one I watched, and I thought this was really cool. This woman, her name was Helen Gordon. It's called Strange Bible Stories You Have Never Heard of.
Oh.
And they were.
Wow.
There were things that were actually in the Bible. She had the quotes and everything. She'd read them all. They were really wild stuff that nobody ever talked about it. You never heard of this stuff before. Things that she taught that were specifically spoken about in the Bible and cleared up all kinds of things that I had always wondered about. What a nice, that's number 196. And then I found this one I had been looking for. I don't know if I told you this.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Thank you, Catherine Weiss, for that very generous super chat. That's fantastic. That'll help me get my green screen working again, maybe. Go ahead.
Hey, maybe we should do a telethon.
Good, yeah.
Anyway, 197 is Mike Love of the Beach Boys.
Oh yeah,
very cool. Did you have a chance to listen to that?
I listened to part of it.
It's very specific, and because he wanted it to be specific, and nobody wanted to ever talk about this stuff, and he loves it. But as a lot of people know, he is very into Transcendental Meditation, taught by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and he spent a great deal of time with him. 50 years he's been doing this meditation program. So I said, yeah, I'll interview you. And of course he wanted me to interview him because I met him when he was with Maharishi. So the point is, I was biased, but that's a show I did that I was biased in. I don't do that all the time, but that was a biased show. There was another one.
Now wait a minute! Don't skim over that yet. That transcendental meditation. Now, some people might not know what that means, and now I know you've told me that you do that, and it's people. This is something that helps the world stay at peace. A certain number of people do this meditation, and it helps to bring peace to the whole world. So, isn't that right?
I'm not going to say it's not right. I'm going to say, like right now we have a major war going on and between Russia and Ukraine. So I don't know how that figures into the thing, but I will say this. I have asked friends of mine who do the same super radiance program that I do. I'll tell you what that is in a second. And I said, I didn't even ask it as a question. I made this cryptic point. You know how I can be. I said, it doesn't seem to be working very well. And his only answer was, think about what it might have been like if we hadn't been doing this program.
Right. Yeah.
So I thought it was a good answer. So what is the Super Radiance program? Well, there are. And now look, I'm gonna make up a number. I do not have the facts in front of me, and I wasn't really prepared to talk about this, but I'm willing to talk about it.
That's okay.
So there are approximately 5 or 10 million people, I think, around the world or more that do this particular super radiance.
Wow.
Now that's not a lot of people when you figure we have about 3.7 or almost 4 billion people on the earth. So what generally happens is if you can have 1% of a, let's call it population group, that group, let's say you had 3 million people doing the super radiance, you can have a fairly good effect. And I don't know what the math is. Is it 30 million? Is 3 million 1% of 30 million? I can't do it in my head right now.
Could be, yeah.
So it would affect that population group. So the real problem that has arisen is that the way that it would work, the way that you could literally cool this down, and that's what I want to say. One, we do have the scientific evidence from 1994 through around 2016 that this super radiance works. The problem is that you need to have that super radiance group close by and in a large group. So when you've got a dispersed 3 million people or 20 million people, it doesn't matter. When you have that number dispersed all over the world, you can't get the intensity that is needed to shut down the negativity. But we do know you can do it. One of the reasons that we know you can do it is that in I don't have the right number with me, but I think it was like 1990, they took a group of people and brought them into Washington, D.C. And the number for Washington, D.C., the super radiance number for Washington, D.C. Was about 3,000. I think that was close to the number.
Okay.
They got 3,000 people doing this program for, I think it was for 6 weeks. And they did it as an experiment with a group of pollsters and other people who do that kind of work, and said, we will do this if you'll keep track of the numbers. They finished, mathematics was done, found that not only did the crime rate drop, I mean, it dropped like 26% for the 6-week period. As soon as they stopped, it went right back up again.
Wow.
This is very general. I feel ashamed of myself doing this on television, because anybody who's going to fact check me is going to find out that I made all kinds of errors in the numbers. And I apologize for that, because I was not prepared to do this. Now, David Orm Johnson, who I interviewed, that's what he does. He talks about this stuff. Let me just tell you right now which one it is, because it's an interesting study. Yeah, that's number 193. Dr. David Orm Johnson's research confirms that, and he has all the research, and they're still active and they're working on it now. But it's like I said, it's the concentration of the super radiance. Okay, so what does super radiance mean? Now I'll come back and I'll talk a little bit about transcendental meditation. Is that okay with you?
Sure, go ahead.
Or, I mean, I'm not selling it to people. I'm just explaining what it is.
It's a very interesting thing. I think that.
Well, because I taught it, I was taught by Moriarity. I mean, I actually was there with him and all that stuff. So, and that was in 1975. I was with him. Actually, my wife and I were there with him. So, so the thing is, there's a lot of, and this is I think a funny beginning. When we came back as TM teachers, we came back to the realization that in 1975, nobody was interested in the word meditation, much less the word transcendental. People couldn't say it, they couldn't even spell it, and nobody wanted to hear about it. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm saying that because look at where we are now. There are magazines called meditation. there's mindfulness, there's all of these forms of meditation now. So going back to 1975, we were teaching TM, and I'm telling you, it was weird. Now, in 1975, Merv Griffin decided to try Transcendental Meditation. And he loved it so much that he invited Moriarity to be on his television show.
Hmm.
And so Moriarity was on the show with Merv Griffin, and they did this, I believe they did this show someplace in LA, I forgot where it was, but it was large arena. Thousands of people were there. And we had what was called the first Merv Griffin wave, and my wife and I were teachers. And so literally we were teaching, like, instead of teaching like one person every month, if we were lucky, it was like 40 people on a Saturday and 40 people on a Sunday. We were exhausted.
Wow.
And every TM teacher that was available was literally teaching day and night, because people were like screaming and wanting to do this so much.
Wow.
It literally became the thing to do. The point I'm going to make now is, now we're in 2022. We were watching the show Billionaire last night. It's a Showtime TV show.
Okay.
And both guys, one is the protagonist, the other is the antagonist, okay? And they're not doing this together, but when we're seeing them, each one of them is meditating in the beginning of the shot, you know? So this thing about meditation is way different from the way it was when we first started teaching it. So what is it about? Well, there are three basic types of what are called meditation. There's concentration, there is contemplation, and then there's transcendental meditation. So there's a big difference between the three of them. Mindfulness, for example, would be regarded many times as contemplation. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying, so there's a difference. And what is the difference? The difference is that transcendental meditation is a technique where you learn how to drop down. I'm using, that's not a term they use, but I mean, literally drop right into the transcendent. What is the transcendent? It's that place that everybody has experienced when they were a kid. It's a very sweet, very joyful, blissful place. It's nice. The problem is that as you get older and older, as you grow older, as you become more stressed and everything, you begin to lose touch with it, until finally you don't, not only do you not have the experience, but you don't even consider that experience exists. And so when you're living in a society like we live in, which is whether it's good or bad doesn't matter. It's just that we live in a very organized, stressful environment. It even has a name. We call it. What's going to call it? What is our form of economics? I'm asking you.
Democracy.
No, that's our form. That's our form of
Oh,
government.
fiat currency.
We're both blank right now. Anyway, everybody else out there knows what we're trying to come up with. Somebody in the chat room say what is our form of economy? What is our economics? There's communism, capitalism. That's what I'm looking for, that word capitalism. So capitalism is one of the toughest places to live. It's tough because you have picked or chosen to live in a situation where nobody gets anything given to them, essentially. Although, I mean, I hear, like, people who don't have anything will complain about it, and people who have something complain about it. But in general, if you don't have a place to live, where are you? Out on the street. Now, in socialized, and I'm not saying anything good or bad about it, just saying in a socialized country, one thing that happens for sure is that almost everyone has a place. In capitalism, that's not the way it is. So the stress level of living under capitalism is ridiculously rough. And so people are literally day to day just picking up crumbs of happiness. They just don't even, they if you can prove to somebody, not even prove, if you can allude to somebody that the new car that you've made will make them happy, they'll buy it.
Oh yeah.
Because any moment to give somebody the feeling of happiness is just it's like, I'll buy it. I'll buy it. How much is it? You know, so you could charge, you know, like $100,000 for a car or more, you know, 50,000, 30,000, whatever it is. If you can't afford a car, then whatever car you get brings you happiness. But for how long? Okay, how long? Not that long. Why? Because it's fleeting. You can't hold on to it. And what is it? What is it? Is it's natural. It's a natural thing. You're born with it. You're born with happiness. The
Yeah.
problem is it has been hidden for so long, you can't get to it. And you'll pay, because we live in capitalism, you'll pay to anybody who will promise you that you can be happy, including a husband or a wife or a partner. They can say to you, I can make you happy, you'll buy it. You'll buy it, you know, and some people are happy, but they're not happy the whole time. Some people, you know, are happy for a while and then it's over. Both partners, sometimes one partner, doesn't matter. The point is, everybody wants to be happy and nobody can find happiness. So
Right.
where is happiness? It's in that transcendental field. So why do people meditate? Because they buy into, and I use the word not allegorically either, they pay for it, but they buy into the idea that they can reach this blissful state. And you know, like you know, I mean, I've been doing it for about 50 years or so, and I do a couple hours a day, which I know is relatively extreme, but it's not that extreme. So the point is that it's a way to feel good inside. So does that help? Does that seem like it answered? Or what kind of questions do you have?
Yeah, I think that's. Well, let's see if there's any questions. They do they do more than hide your happiness. They try to crush it. Oh yeah, it's. I guess they do
Well,
that.
yeah, because it's kind of like this. If you think of the ocean as an example, on the surface level of the ocean, you have waves, you have movement. Okay. So the mind is a lot like the ocean in the sense that all of the activity is up above and it's constant, just doesn't stop. You get storms, it's horrible, and sometimes, but it never stops. Now, the deeper that you go in the water, the quieter it gets until when you come to the base or the floor of the ocean, it is still. It doesn't matter whether there's a there could be a hurricane at the surface level, but at the bottom, it is still. And the mind is a lot like that. So if you learn, when you learn the technique, and that's the nice thing about Tia, that's why I learned it and then I did it and then I learned how to teach it. You have that, and that's nice. It feels good.
Yeah. Um, you know, sometimes when I meditate, you know, you relax your shoulders, and then I relax my jaw. I just let it hang, because there's a lot of times you tense up your jaws, and I can get in. I can meditate a lot quicker if I just do that. Just those couple things, just totally relax it, because your jaw muscles are your strongest muscles in your body, and if you're always clenching them, it's hard to get relaxed. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, all you have to do is go to a dentist, and he knows immediately. I mean, there are people that they grind their teeth. I mean, they're clenching their jaws. They have what is that one, T something or other? There's like this
TMJ, yeah,
TM. Yeah, I mean, you can seriously affect just the face muscles, the facial muscles alone, with the stress
oh yeah,
in the muscles. So yes, I mean, you know, it's funny when when Maharishi came to the United States. I think it was in 1955 or something like that, or 56, and he came, you know, and in those days, um, he didn't actually have a name for it. he was just like meditation. And so he would teach Americans. People would come from miles around to learn whatever it was then, but it was TM. And they would do the technique, and then they would fall asleep.
Hmm.
And so and then they would wake up after 20 or 30 minutes, whatever it was. They were so happy. They were happy. They hadn't had a decent sleep for like 25, 30 years.
Wow.
And he was thinking to himself, I've come to the United States to awaken people. And all I'm doing is putting them to sleep.
There you go.
Because he had no idea the stress level. And that was in the 50s. My goodness.
Wow.
It's people, it's an amazing thing, like everyone is trying to figure out, like, why are there all of these strange diseases? For example, why was there a pandemic? A lot of things don't make any sense. Okay, so I won't get into, is there a pandemic? Wasn't there? Look, we know one thing for sure. People were dying. That's what we know. We know that people were dying. They're very sick, very ill. And then the question was, what is it? What is happening? What is happening to all these people? Where are they getting it? And about the only thing anyone could come up with is, it must be being passed through the air, which is the only thing that made sense, because they tried everything else. Wash your hands, everything, clean this, clean that, do this, do that, and then they found if a person wore a mask, for some reason, they seemed to see a drop. Now, I'm not saying whether it's true or not. I'm just saying it seemed like that. So, but I always thought to myself, maybe it's nothing more than the level of stress. Maybe the level of stress is what this is all about. I don't know, but I wish somebody would actually take their eyes off the other stuff and start looking at all of these easier things to think about. Because what does stress do? It creates problems with the immune system. It creates problems with every single part of the physiology. Anyway.
Yes. Thank you, Christina, for that super sticker. Thank you very much. I won't have the ability to share anything on my screen because I'm going.
Let me interrupt you. Don't forget, we're on a 40-minute deal. Remember that.
Oh yeah.
So, and you can explain to everybody what happened if you want.
It's
a great story, actually.
I think we're already past the 40-minute mark, but that's okay.
Caught us. I don't know if they cut us off or not. Is it still red? You still have a red?
It's still looking like it's doing it. Yeah.
Good.
Still recording. Yeah. So that's really interesting. I'm glad I asked you that because, like you said, meditation is everywhere. Even some schools now, they, instead of giving kids timeouts, they have them meditate. They sit down and they meditate.
Why? It's like it's punishment.
No, it works.
I mean, I'm just,
it works. It totally works.
Of course it does.
Yeah. Settling kids down. When I worked at the daycare, getting the kids to color or to read would just settle them down.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's always good to do in this crazy, fast-paced world. Now, so have you decided to now? I know deciding to do a new show is a lot of work to do a show.
You're scaring the hell out of me today after what we've gone through.
But it's live. It's live. Everyone, thankfully, I'm not the only one that has problems. So, everyone's kind of used to this.
Well, folks, let me tell you something, because Aaron is so cool. But let me tell you what, we were going through hell for a full hour. We're trying to be on at 6 o'clock. We're already had the whole show ready to go, and we could not, and we still don't know whether this is really on the air or not. We know that some people are receiving it, but he can't get me. The whole thing, literally, Aaron came up with a solution out of nowhere. Remember, he was talking one time in one show. He was talking about how he fixed the muffler in his car with, I think, just what was it, a can of soup or something. You remember?
Two hose clamps connected together.
But anyway, the point I'm making is that's basically what he did. He came up with two hose clamps.
Yeah, here we are.
Put them together and got us on TV tonight, and it took an hour. I mean, I'm impressed. I really am. I'm impressed with the tenacity. It's fantastic.
I can see you, but the audience can't. You know what? I hate to do this, but I'm going to run and get something really quick. I'll be right back.
So now there'll just be a voice. Okay, I'll talk while you're gone.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Cool. There he goes, folks. Well, let me tell you, many of you know that I have a book publishing company, and I came prepared tonight to show a book that we've never talked about, but we're not going to be able to show it that I know of. However, I can tell you the name of it. It's called Incident at Fort Benning. And it's a book that I co-wrote with John Vasquez. John actually told a crazy story to me when I first met him in 1998 at the UFO Congress. I think it was in Laughlin. I think that's where it was, Laughlin. And he had come. I was there helping some friends of mine make videos, and John came up with this big book, and he said it wasn't a book. I mean, it was like 300 pages of typewritten information.
And to get you on the screen. There he is.
You're so cool. Hey, look, there it is, folks. The hose clamps. So John, I'm telling him about Incident at Fort Benning, the book, and I sent you in an email the front cover and the back cover, so you have them if you want to like put them on the air while I'm talking.
I can't. I have no way of doing that.
Okay.
There it is.
I can't even, look. It's backwards on top of everything else.
It's
I can't
blurring out.
focus. It won't focus because I have the blur on.
Yeah.
Anyway, Incident at Fort Benning. It turns out, and I'll make it quick, John was in the 1,300 troops. He was one of the guys in 1,300 troops, and they were at Fort Benning, and they were doing this exercise when all of a sudden everyone who was in the exercise was taken up on a large mothership, 1,300 troops.
Oh.
And John tells the story, and he said to me, I want to make this into a book. And I said, well, why are you having problems making this into a book? It sounds like a movie to me. He said, yeah. He says, but maybe if I have a book, it could be made into a movie. I said, well, I'd love to help you. And then I said, and I will help you. So I had already published one book, which we talked about the last time on the air, C. Alternative's book. And I said to him, I said, okay, I said, I'll publish your book. I said, but the way that you have this organized is really, really bad. I want to, get together with you. Well, he lived in San Diego, and as you guys know, I live in Santa Barbara. So and I don't know if you know how far that is from each other, but that's like about 500 or 600 miles, something like that, or 400 miles. I said, I tell you what I'll do. I said, I'll call you up on the phone, and I will record you telling me the story the way you told me the story here. At that time, I was at the UFO Congress. And I said, we'll do this over a period of like 3 or 4 days. So I had made, and I have these cassettes too. I don't think anybody's going to want them, but you never know. Maybe I'll do something with it because it's John's voice. John's no longer with us. So he told me the story, and I recorded it, and then I literally transcribed the entire thing. It was about 12 or 14 hours of telephone calls. And then I turned it into this book, Incident at Fort Benning. It's a cool book. And what's interesting about it is I couldn't figure out what to do with the other 300 pages that John had. And what they turned out to be, as I looked at them more and more, they were like years and years and years of him sending letters to everybody who was at the base, to people that had the experience, people who didn't remember having the experience. He had everything written down, articles from newspapers, all this stuff. So I made an appendix that's in the book, and it's about 25 or 30 pages, might be a little bit more, of all of the most relevant evidence that this thing was not made up by him. So it's a very, very good book, and it's been around. Well, I think I published it. I don't even know. I'll look. I'll tell you what it says.
I want to get that one. 1,300 troops were teleported onto a spaceship.
Yes.
And where did they go?
They, I don't know where they went, but they were on the ship for a number of hours, and then they were returned to the formation they were in. And very few of them remembered it happening, although most of them, like John, about 10 years later, see, this happened in 1977. John had his awakening in 1988. Okay. All of a sudden, he was having a regression done because he had such a PTSD problem, and then he saw it. He saw what had happened, and a number of those guys had that experience, and a lot of people did not remember ever, or at least they didn't. They haven't talked about it. But you know what I'll do? I'll if I can, I'll send you a copy of the book. I mean, you deserve it.
I'll buy it.
Oh, punishment. As punishment for having put me through this today. I'll send you the book.
Oh.
Oh. Are you going to hold that thing the whole time?
Oh, Mad Pogue says, what does he say over here?
Is my voice, look, is my voice, am I actually?
I think they can hear you. I think they can hear you. I got it turned up all the way. It says, we shouldn't make Truth Quest with Aaron Moriarty hold that pose all night. Looks very awkward. Thanks, Mad Pogue.
I agree. I was saying, you can do this the whole night? My gosh. People are probably getting nervous.
Well,
anyway, that's a story
on screen a little bit there so people know you're here. It's not just.
Oh, I know. And I appreciate that. Hey, look, this is going to go down in history as one of the most weird.
Yeah.
And hey, I'm part of it. You know, I always tell people, if something strange happens and it happens to you, it's happening to the other person too. You have that together. That's yours.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know why.
Yeah.
No, not yet anyway. So let's see. That was those two things that I had up here.
Aaron needs a MacGyver way to hold the mirror. James. Hey, James. Yeah. I need a hose clamp. That's what I need.
Well, now we had a discussion this afternoon, and I'm not going to dive deeply into this thing. But we were talking about the 2030 singularity.
Oh, yes.
And the one outcome.
Yes.
I don't want to get too deeply involved in it, and probably everybody who watches your show knows all about it.
Yes.
Do they?
I hope that they do.
Why don't you give everybody a little bit of a little bit of an overview?
Yes, there is a series of videos, and I've shared I think one of them, or maybe more than one of them, on the last show. It's called, the channel's called Guardians of the Looking Glass, and you can look that up. I thought I had something here. Now, where did that go? I don't think I'm going to find it.
I've got it. Do you want me to read it?
Well, also Dr. Wu. I looked into Dr. Wu and his raindrop project. he was a young scientist, and he was, you know, he had a very high math aptitude. And the Chinese government said, okay, you're going to work with us. You're one of these people we need. And they went really far down an elevator, super far down. And it opened up into this like futuristic city down there. There are things that weren't on the surface, different kinds of smaller, faster trains. And it was like a really interesting environment to work, and they were working on quantum computing. He also got a glimpse of what they were planning to do, horrible things. And one of the things was coronavirus, that he saw. He knew they were planning this way before it happened. So he documents that. So check out Dr. Wu. I had this, the website, but I don't, all
Well,
the
you tell it. It's WU.
WU, yes, Dr. Winston Wu, Dr. Winston Wu, very courageous man. He snuck one of these quantum computers out, and he's got it, and he's going to use it to free humanity. It's a really ambitious project, and that's why they're trying to eliminate him. And that's, in these videos, they give you, now no one knows if these are true or not, but it gives you, they're going to be releasing videos from now, from March until 2029, because the singularity is going to happen in 2030, where we're going to have one outcome, either the good timeline or the bad timeline, according to the videos. But Dr. Wu is a very important person. That's the second event. And I encourage you all to look that up and read what he has to say before he gets taken down, because he's got a blockchain thing that's going to give us all crypto money, lots and lots of money, to break free from this corrupt fiat system and this cabal monetary system we're under right now. So very interesting. So what were you going to say about the singularity?
Well, I was going to actually read this thing here.
Okay.
So the looking glass timeline was first discovered and researched in the 1980s and 1990s. So it's an artifact. Now they say that it's the artifact itself is Sumerian in nature, but not believed to be originally from that civilization. And that's what I said to you. Well, of course not, because the Sumerians literally didn't actually know anything. However, what they did do was that they were created by the Anunnaki. I don't know if anybody knows who the Anunnaki are, but
Yeah.
they're from this planet called Nibiru, and they actually claimed the Earth for about 350,000 years as their own. And then towards the end of that period of time, towards maybe 35,000 years, so let's say at the 335,000th year, they got tired of being here, I guess. And they had been mining gold. And you say to yourself, why does a civilization of the Anunnaki need gold? And the answer was that they had, and this is just a story that's recorded and translated from the Sumerian tablets by Zechariah Sitchin, who I interviewed. He actually talks about that in a couple of my podcasts. So they apparently, the Anunnaki, needed gold because they had figured out how they could save their planet, which was now falling apart because of pollution. And they learned how to put these gold flakes, kind of like gold flakes, into the atmosphere, which then repaired it. So they began, like I said, mining gold, but none of the people who were Anunnaki wanted to do it. Well, first of all, the average height of an Anunnaki should I call it an Anunnakian? No. Anyway, the average height of one of those people is between 17 and 22 feet or something like that.
Okay.
So they're really big. And they decided that they would make little versions of themselves that would be between 5 feet and 6 feet tall. So they took a number of hominids, which is a word for something that walks on 2 feet, 2 legs, and they did some DNA manipulation and came up with the human. And those people, those humans, us, were small enough and stupid enough to mine gold. So then the Anunnaki didn't have to do it. Everybody was happy. They didn't have to work. And they had this entire population of people who did all the work. So for about 35,000 years, we humans lived kind of as slaves doing the mining for the Anunnaki. So I'm telling you that. So this artifact, I just want to give you a little backstory there. So this artifact was found in that area. It activates or is functional when placed in certain geographic points where known multidimensional portals exist. So the thing itself does not work unless it's in the right place. The portals themselves are sometimes above ground, a few feet, a few hundred feet, even a few thousand feet, while others are below ground or at ground level. They vary in intensity from a certain point, losing intensity usually 10 to 15 feet from the center point in any particular direction. There are a few of these points in Iraq. Okay, Iraq, remember Iraq?
Mm-hmm.
It was weird. Why were we in Iraq? Well, now I think you know why. But they are also all over the world. One placed in one of these locations, I'm talking about the device, it begins to operate. So it starts to operate when you put that device, or what they call the looking glass, well, that's what it's called, the looking glass, but is best viewed, okay, I'm sorry, it begins to operate and then it produces images viewable to the human eye through a plasma cloud, which can appear holographic in nature, but is best viewed from certain positions. When first activated, those viewing the images immediately found them to be recognizable as future events, showing familiar scenes, television programs, and so on. But they were clearly from the future. The scenes would start from the current date viewed, for example, 1985, and proceed up to 2030. Then it would repeat, showing a new series of events, but all from the same apparent timeline. So, and then the article continues. I'm not going to read it forever, but I'm just saying that gives you a little bit of an idea, excuse me, of what this thing is, this looking glass gadget.
Yeah.
And what is happening now is that this article purports that some they that I'm not sure who it is, has it. Did you want to continue with that, or do you know more? You know more than I do about this.
I think they might not have the artifact, but they have all the data that they collected from it.
Okay, that's what. Okay, you're right. You're true. That's right.
So they're trying to stop.
Wait. Let me interrupt you. It says, despite our preparation efforts, we were shown via the looking glass future data that we will need new people to help us. Those people are called the guardians. I'm just reading what it said. That's all.
Sure.
I'm not arguing with you. Again, I want to say you definitely know more than I do about it.
Well, I know a
I'll
little
close
bit.
my mouth and allow you to speak. I'm sorry.
I know a little bit about it. I don't know everything about it. And we don't know if it's true. The first event is going to happen on Times Square on the 18th, and it's
April 18th.
April 18th at Times Square. And apparently they're reporting that they got intel that it's going to be a large van that's going to explode on or near Times Square, and 2,000 people are going to die instantly. But it sets off a number of events that triggers nuclear war. And so here we're talking about time travel and Times Square, right? Here's a drawing I did a couple months ago of my character Timex, who's a time traveling superhero in Times Square. There he is. Something like that. We're ahead of the curve there. So maybe we'll be able to stop it. So they say by sharing these videos, it sends out little ripples into the time stream, and it could cause the cabal not to do these false flags if there's too much awareness. So they're on BitChute. They're still on YouTube. Share them like crazy, just in case this is true, and we can save humanity and save the United States of America, because the United States isn't going to survive if we get the bad timeline, sadly.
Yeah, it's interesting. What I found pretty cool was, because I do this, we talked about it before, what is called super radiance, which is it's mathematically set up so that if you hit a particular number, which is actually the square root of the population, square root of 1% of the population. But what was interesting is when I look at this thing, it says, we were shown that if we are successful in preventing 50 of these events, so there's a total of 144 events, that by 2027, the probability of our success reaches 79%. Okay. If it gets there to 79%, the negative outcome will be steered in favor of a positive outcome.
Yes.
So
for.
I think that's pretty cool. I mean, the rest of it is pretty, because I said when we were talking, because you know how I am, hey, listen, folks, I'm skeptical of everything. I've always been a skeptic. So I start out by being skeptical, and then I get lured. I allow myself to be lured in if it seems like it's probable or something. So when Aaron and I were having this discussion this afternoon, I said to him, well, I liken this a lot to the weather. So here's the problem. If you are watching the weather and they show you all these probable events, so they're saying, here's what we see, and then they tell you this whole thing. Here's the green, here's the red, the yellow, here are the storms, here's all these things. And so we're predicting, okay, now that's the problem now. We have facts. The facts are that if this particular picture was static, that means it stops. Nothing happens, just stays like that. Then this is what's going to happen. Now, here's the problem. The weather doesn't stop. It's dynamic. So if the meteorologist says tomorrow the rain will be at between 4 and 6 p.m. and it will be heavy at times. I mean, they're already saying at times. They're not going to give you specifics. And at 4 o'clock, the sun is shining. You say, what? Now, here's what you do. First, you're annoyed. Then you're glad that it's not raining. But the other thing that happens is now you're like looking at, that guy isn't a very good meteorologist. What you've missed, though, is that there's no such thing as a static situation. Everything is in motion, just like your body. Everything is in motion all of the time. It's what makes a person furious. You get your blood test, then 2 days later you see your doctor, and he refers to the blood test about something. the reality is that blood test was good 48 hours ago, but this is 48 hours later. It's not static, it's dynamic, it's just moving. Everything is moving. So like in that weather analogy, everything is moving. And we see it moving. We understand how the air flows are constantly moving. You've got jet streams and all these different things are moving. The same thing happens in timelines. It's just that people are just now starting to become used to the concept of a timeline. If you go back 20 years ago and talked about a timeline, you might as well have been talking about UFOs, and everything else. Nobody, you know how people are.
Right.
You guys are on the edge. What's happening, man? I see you looking.
Combat Carl says, Truth Quest with Aaron Moriarty. That lines up with a woman posted a couple months ago that she was tracking a vehicle driving up and down the East Coast with a nuclear signature. I'm not sure if the bank bomb is going to be nuclear or not, but that sets off some events that lead very quickly to full nuclear war. That's why we need, if this is true, that's why we need to avoid it by sharing this out as much as you can and focusing always on the positive timeline. It's easy to focus on the negative, but what you think about, you bring about. So try to think positively about the positive outlook. The more of us that think that way, transcendentally and otherwise, I think that might help.
Yeah, and I think, as I said this afternoon, I said, the facts are not the problems. The problems are deriving consequences from what you are assuming the facts are at the time. And so, like this particular article that I'm looking at is filled with consequences. And when you read the consequences, then what happens next is the knee-jerk reaction of a fear aspect that you pick up from it.
Right.
And so when you're in the fear aspect, now you can't think clearly, like I said this afternoon.
Yep.
So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you don't allow yourself to become emotionally involved in something that like this article, which is a great article. They're presenting a possibility of a timeline, but nobody is saying this is what's really going to happen. They're saying there's a possibility that this can happen. So again, it's just like many times, when the guy says it's going to snow at 6 o'clock, it does. So, I mean, it's like the crapshoot. I mean, you don't know when it's going to happen. Sometimes it really does happen, but sometimes it doesn't. So we want to be careful. We don't want to walk around like Chicken Little, because Chicken Little had a problem. Took all the consequences to heart.
One time up here in Egg Harbor, when I was selling timeshare, I took a couple into this unit and it started to hail. It was a summer day, beautiful summer day. And all of a sudden it was hailing, like really a lot. And we looked outside, we took a picture. It looked like it was snow. It was everywhere. And the house, the building next to us wasn't hit. The other one next, the other way wasn't hit. It was just that one. So up here, we live on a peninsula of 2 big bodies of water. So we get all kinds of crazy weather happening. So yeah, there's no way they can predict that. Something like that.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, what I wanted to say before, which I had gotten off on a tangent with, was that we're willing to forgive the meteorologist every day, but we don't forgive people who are quote unquote psychics or showing timeline possibilities. We go, oh, that was a bunch of crap. I'll never listen to them again. The thing is, you need to be able to forgive them just like you do the meteorologist.
Right. Yeah, we're not saying this is true, folks. There's a possibility that it might be true. And if sharing it can help, then that's helping. Also, sharing it could spread fear. So that's why it's very important to focus on the positive part of the message. There's 2 parts of this message. One part's positive, one part's negative. Or just have a null opinion. Because after the 18th, we're going to know something. That's
or we won't know anything.
Yeah. Well, that's the nice thing about predictions with the date attached to is that date's going to come and go at some point.
Yeah.
and either something's going to happen or something's going to be avoided. If it's avoided, yeah, you know. And one person who's been really lambasted for this is David Wilcock, because he's made a lot of predictions that didn't come true.
That's right.
Now, was that because the cabal all of a sudden went, well, oh, they're on to us, we better switch, we don't want to do something they already know we're going to do? Possibly, but it makes him look bad. But I think most people are pretty, when you're dealing with the evil cabal, they're going to do all kinds of things to make everyone look crazy. So I think.
But here's the thing that I need to interrupt you for a second.
Yeah.
The important thing here, or one of the important things here is this. The dynamism works in both sides.
Mhm.
So if you want to break it down into, let's say, the good people and the bad people, the good people and the bad people are under the, let's call it, the framework of whatever the thing is. And so it's always running diametrically opposed to each group. How it works, I don't know. But I do know one thing. Nobody can guarantee what they say. They can see it. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of oracles see different things.
Mhm.
They don't all see the same thing. And then the people try to come up with things like, so-and-so is right 50% of the time, or it's 60% of the time, or 20% of the time. It's like a basketball player. You can't go out there and play basketball. You have to go out there with percentages, just like the batter in the batting box. He's hitting 323 and the bases are loaded. So you're thinking to yourself, hey, if he's hitting 323, he's got a great chance of getting a single. But you can strike him out. That's the way it is. Because nobody controls the timelines. Nobody. The bad people don't control them. The good people don't control them. The religious people don't control them.
I beg to differ here, because I got the time machine here. Where is it? There it is. Time machine.
All right.
Yeah. So much fun. Yeah, but yeah, I was on the Foxhole this morning on Liana Wilbert's channel and talking about this. So check that out too. If you get on the Foxhole, that was a lot of fun. And we talked about this. It was something new for them and that channel there. Truth Quest with Aaron Moriarity. We are on an event-based calendar. Yeah, but there's no candy behind the numbers anymore.
So another thing that we talked about was, I had mentioned to you that I look at the planet a little differently from the way many people look at it. And that is, first of all, I look at the fact that it's apparently 4.5 billion years old. So I was saying to Aaron this afternoon, one day, once a long time ago, I calculated how many possible civilizations you could have that would rise and fall in 4.5 billion years. And of course, once again, I don't have the facts in front of me, because that's how I am.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a calculator, and I have a calculator here, but I can't, it doesn't go up that high, because 4.5 billion requires me to think in a different way, and I'd need to use exponents and all kinds of things. But I'm just going to say, if you have a 1,000-year cycle for a civilization, which incidentally is not that long. Particularly, look at what we've done in 1,000 years, or whatever it looks like we've done. So when people the learned people, I put them in air quotes, when the learned people tell you that this place has only been around for 1,000 years or 6,000 years, or even if it's 20,000 years or 350,000 years, it's still nothing. It's still nothing. Think of how many of those cycles you have. And so the big question that comes up is, let's say you have 1,000,000 cycles. That's a lot of cycles. But this number would be more than 1,000,000, but let's say 1,000,000. So if there are 1,000,000 cycles, why don't we see evidence of them? That's always the big question. What happened? How is that possible? And as I said to Aaron this afternoon, you need to remember that there's the tectonic plates. And what do? They're like little escalators. No, they're not little, but they're like escalators underneath the plates that are moving around on the earth that hold the continents.
Yeah.
And what do? They go around and then down inside the earth to be recycled. And then they come back as new material, usually through volcanic eruption, things like that, new. So nothing is new, everything is being recycled. It's no wonder that we have no record of things that happened 10,000 years ago. I mean, Atlantis only disappeared 14 or 15 or 18,000 years ago. That's a quick time in this story that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
One of these times when we do a show, I will do time according to the Vedic scriptures.
Okay.
I think you'll enjoy it. Okay. Anyway, I just thought I would mention that one about where's the evidence? There will never be evidence. There might be evidence of something from 14,000 years ago, but there's not going to be evidence beyond that. I don't think. There might be, but people, although they have found weird things. Are you familiar with that book, the book of anomalous things? Like there was like a fossilized radio and things like that.
Oh yeah, a spark plug in a rock and hammer in a rock and things like that. Yeah.
So
yeah,
I love the concept of the word anomaly, because it's a great word. Most people can't even say it. They can't spell it. Why do we have a word like that? Because it is exactly what it is.
An anomaly.
You can't even say it. You can't spell it. It's just, it doesn't belong there. What a great concept. Hey, you know what? It doesn't belong.
Yeah. There's even a guy named Anomaly. He calls himself Anomaly. He's a pretty cool guy. Hello, Austin Morris. Welcome to the program. As you can see, my spaceship is in repair now. It's all painted green for a while. But
I can't get over the fact that I can see all that stuff, but you can't see me.
Right.
I can see me. I can see you. But nobody can see me, and they can't see that. They don't see the spaceship.
Well, you can see in the mirror. See that's the green screen that they see.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. I mean, how you couldn't, if you said to somebody, like, hey, I need somebody who can code this. Here's what I want to have happen. I want to have the guy who's on the show see himself and see me with my backdrop. Then I don't want to have the backdrop to show to anybody who's watching the show. And also, I don't want you to be able to see the guy who's talking. Can you do that? He's like, that's going to take weeks to do that.
Because I want to hold up a mirror and do a special effect. These effects aren't very special.
Well, anyway, what do you think? Should we, what's this, an hour and a half?
Yeah,
No.
I think we could probably cap this one. I got to repair my spaceship. I got to rebuild it all. Kind of.
It looks great from here.
Yeah, it does. It does on the Zoom, yeah. So folks, I'm going to try real hard to get my Zoom thing fixed so we can do our normal type of show where we can do screen sharing and people calling in and you can actually see the guest without me holding up a mirror and shaking it.
I want to see what you end up getting. Let me know when you post it. What are you going to do? Post it right away, or what
Oh,
are you going to do?
it'll be already posted. Yeah, it's live now. It'll be automatically posted.
Cool.
So yeah. Well, folks, I want to thank you all for coming along on this heralding journey through the cosmos and through time. I want to thank Kathy and Christina Love for the super chats and the super sticker. And I want to thank my good friend Bruce Holmes for coming on to the Truth Quest again and enlightening us about Transcendental Meditation and all kinds of other things. Be sure to check out his channel. I know that I saw Mud Rabbit sharing the links to that. So those are up there. Just scroll around. You can find them and go give his trending shows a listen. You'll be amazed because, you know, a lot of these people aren't around anymore. So,
And who knows how long I'll be around.
yeah, well, I guess we all have an expiration date. However, I plan to live forever, and so far my plan's working perfectly. That's
You will be living forever. Just
in spirit form.
Same body.
In spirit form, yes, we will. Well, thank you everybody for coming along. We love you all, and keep those cameras pointed to the sky so you can take a picture of that UFO and come on to the Truth Quest and talk about it. Until then, peace in. Let's see how this is going to work now. And thank you very much.
Or thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. I gotta write thank you in here.
Hey, a good couple of troopers, man. From
Yeah,
the
we did it.
entertainment business, the show must go on.
We pulled it off, the impossible mission. And this is nice because normally after a show, I'm gonna stop recording on this. Stop recording.